Okay, Paul Lafrance. Great name, just saying.
Thank you.
We get so many questions, so many inquiries, and it's always about decking and exteriors, and people don't realize you do it all. You're inside, you're outside.
Inside
you're
and
on.
outside, yeah.
How many shows do you have now?
72. No. 3, 9, 4.
Do you even know how many
I don't
shows
know.
you have
I don't know.
now?
I forget.
So, Disaster Decks, Decked Out, Deck Wars, Custom Build, Canada's Handyman Challenge. Just
Yeah.
to name a few.
Yeah. Those are the ones, but on other planets, I'm doing other shows.
Yeah, little ping on here, there.
I can't release the names of those yet because first contact hasn't happened. But continue.
We'll move on with these ones. So can we go through some of the common DIY
Yes.
deck mistakes? These are the mistakes that you people are making out there. So we're going to clarify and talk a little bit more about it. You ready?
Yes.
Kind of do like a rapid fire thing.
I'm ready. I'm so
All
ready.
right. We already move at a rapid fire pace. So here we go. No design plan. That's a big mistake you all make.
Terrible error. So if you're going to go into your backyard and build a deck, that's great. A lot of guys can build. They have the skill to do it. But, oh my gosh, for the same amount of money that you would build a 400 square foot deck for, if you pay a designer, like if you were to, for instance, just throwing this out here, hire me through paulafrancedesign.com. No, it's an infomercial. Sorry.
No, it works.
But-
Hashtag hire designer.
Yeah. Hiring a designer, someone who has the creative eye, you can spend less money and have more impact and increase your property value by a large marge.
Plus, you're doing it right out of the gate. And
Yes.
on top of that, people forget that you have the ins in terms of the contacts, the connections. So you'll help save them a substantial amount of money for what it would cost to hire you.
Exactly.
Just saying.
You build it and suddenly you have a dramatic impact as opposed to
Yeah.
something that just goes, oh, you built a deck. How nice. How quaint.
How quaint. This is my favorite one, I got to tell you, because I can tell you many times I've run into this. Get a permit.
Yeah, kind of smart. When a project is done without a permit, I mean the scariest permit-less jobs are when people do a second-story deck without a permit, because they think they can just attach their deck ledger
It's
to.
grandfathered.
It's grandfathered. It's totally fine.
Love that.
It is a scary thing when a deck is attached to a house through brick. People
Yes.
go, it's brick. It's strong. It's made of brick.
It's how it's actually
It's a veneer.
connected. It's a veneer.
It's not structural.
That's right.
And the stories I've heard of decks that have collapsed
People have
in
died.
a party, people have died.
Yeah, people have died.
So it's very important to know that there's another person looking over your shoulder to make sure that it's safe. They're not there to be like the military. They're there to protect you and make sure this is built properly,
Yeah.
which also adds to your resale value because this has been inspected, it's done correctly.
Sure, and they will find it. I mean, they will find it without a
Home
shadow of a doubt.
inspectors will
That's
know
right.
if it's not done right.
Absolutely. Okay, how about this one? Do not use concrete footings. I like this.
Yes. So concrete footings, that's been the norm for, I think,
Ever.
3,000
Yep,
years.
forever.
And so but the problem with concrete, I mean, obviously it's been used because if you do it correctly, it's going to be effective.
Yep.
But the helical piles, the steel footing, so the company I use is called Technometal Post.
Okay.
And this is the future. I will never use concrete again.
So how does it
For
differ?
2 reasons. Okay, so now people say, well, if you're using a helical pile, it's going to be more expensive than concrete, but not when you're considering the time involved. When you are digging
Concrete
in concrete,
takes longer to cure. You have to dig deeper.
here's what you got to do. You got to dig a hole. You got to call an inspector to inspect the
Yep.
hole. That takes a day. Then you got to pour the concrete into the footing, let it set. That takes another day. So
Yep.
you're building on day 3.
Already.
If you're hiring a contractor, if you are a contractor, whether you're a home builder,
Yeah.
if you're a home builder, you only have so much time to build it, that's what you do. But now, you drill this into the ground, you're handing the inspector a report saying that, yes, you've reached the right compression levels, and then you're building it that afternoon.
Amazing.
Crazy town. And it's not going to be affected by erosion. You're not going to have freeze-thaw issues where you have hydrostatic pressure or underground water systems
Cracking.
with frost, causing it to
Yeah,
raise and
heaving.
over.
Yep.
Way of the future.
Love it. There you go. So that's a great cost-saving tip right there. All
and
right.
they're shiny, and they're shiny.
And they're shiny and
Yeah.
they look brand new always. How about do your structural homework? That's interesting. That's kind of what we were talking about. People don't really understand what's keeping that deck up, do they?
It is amazing how many second-story decks are built where you are 8 feet above the ground
No railing?
and either no railing or the structure
code.
is just slightly above the structural integrity of paper mache and your family's out on top
Yeah.
of there. Not so good. Do your homework. Know how to structure things properly. It might save your life and prison time.
There you go. And it's so true. People just, it's amazing. They've put that much energy into that, where that's the bigger liability than, some of the cosmetic changes inside the house. Just saying. How about this one? Not connecting the deck to the house. This I see all the time. In fact, I've had arguments saying this is not connected properly.
Well, there's 2 methods to madness. There are some situations where I will connect the deck to the house, and there's some where I won't. But yeah, that's where you need advice. That's
Right.
where you need to have somebody that's a professional looking at this, because sometimes people say, well, let's float the deck so it's not connected to the house, but they're not realizing that, well, in the first 3 feet away from the house, that's been excavated when the house was built. So that's
Right.
called undisturbed soil. And we have a question in the back. Yes, is there? Hello.
I got it.
Hi.
That's
Oh, she was saying
it's our
5 minutes.
5-minute cue.
5 minutes.
It's
I
our
thought she was
5-minute
like,
cue.
hello. I didn't want to ignore her.
Let's do the
I mean,
wave,
she
though.
looks,
Let's do
she
the
looks
wave.
so
Let's do the
sad.
wave.
Hi,
Let's do
it
the
was
wave.
nice to
Let's do
see
the
you.
wave.
Oh,
Okay.
5 minutes, 5 minutes. Oh, okay, so we'll continue.
That's my spirit.
It's my first day on television.
Jazz hands. There you go.
I'll continue. So, is this too much information
No,
about this?
no, this is
Yes,
good.
yes.
No, this is actually really good.
This is such a common mistake that people will make. They'll say, well, I'm going to put a footing in
Yeah.
right close to my foundation wall, but they don't realize that earth has been excavated when the house was built. It was filled back in. That's called disturbed soil, where you want your footing to be an undisturbed soil.
Right.
So then what happens
Has
is
greater integrity that way.
the deck then goes toward the house, the water slopes in, fills the basement with water, divorces happen. It's terrible. It's terrible.
It's a big mess. Yeah.
it's a big
so
mess.
let's plan, everybody, right?
I will often connect the deck to the house more often than not.
I agree.
But I will make sure it's connected properly, either to the framework or to the actual poured concrete foundation.
And that's key. It's done properly.
Yes.
Not understanding the sun.
Oh, God. Okay, look at me. See my nose? This nose burns very badly. So
does this, see?
Do you understand?
Permanently
Yeah,
burned.
it
Yes.
happens. This is red in the summer, red in the winter.
Yeah.
So, on the weekends, my wife's like, hey, let's go out to the beach and hang out and just under the sun. I'm like, you do realize I work outside every day. I like the shade. So when people design their backyard spaces and they don't think about the trajectory of the sun, what is the point of creating this beautiful backyard escape for summertime use when it's 40 degrees with the humidity? It's too hot to go outside because there's no escape, particularly if you're facing south or southwest where it's just sun all day long.
Yeah, it's beating on you.
Make sure that you will never see me build any deck project without there being some sort of aerial structure. Not only for
Something
this,
to give you shade.
Yeah, not only for the aesthetic purposes,
Yep.
but also the purposes of allowing you to be out there in the rain, but mostly to give you escape from the burning hot smoking sun.
Love that. Not planning correctly for furniture.
You know,
So does that happen? People have the pieces that they want, they've already bought it. So now go ahead, Paul, make it so, or they just try it themselves, or they buy their own furniture.
well, I mean, most people will go, if somebody buys furniture first and doesn't plan the deck around it, that's because, well, there's usually been a lot of whiskey involved. And so,
It's just a mistake.
yes.
Just one of those
just a
mistakes.
Mistake.
Okay?
But I mean, it's so important that when a deck is designed, that defined rooms are designed in, just like you would expect inside the house.
No different than inside.
This is where you're going to eat. This is where you're going to use the barbecue. This is where you're going to have the dining table. It's just like the indoor
So it
space.
should have flow and reasoning.
But what's really fun is that with a deck, you can do something that you can't do inside the house. You can go and find an incredible piece of furniture, like a rounded, like a semicircular rounded sofa bed, and design the deck around that. How cool is that?
Yeah.
So I've actually had a client that actually bought a sectional couch that was in a half circle, and I designed the entire deck to fit this piece. And it was an incredible finish.
So
all
you
based
have
on
a
a piece
lot
of
more,
furniture.
you have on that piece of furniture. That was your
That was
creative-
inspiration.
That was inspiration,
Yeah.
and it's true because you don't have the same walls, the same support structure to worry about.
Very unique.
You are outside, so really the sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. Trust me. You should see the stuff I want to build.
Pretty good, right? Not maintaining the wood. Well, that's just. I always say people in terms of their homes, they look after their cars far more effectively than they do their homes. And no different when you look at those decks, nothing's worse when they've stained it and then they haven't maintained it and it's peeling and it's just
All right.
ugly.
This is something I'm trying to get across to anyone that will listen. It is so important to use composite decking, ultra low maintenance products outside for two reasons. Number one, what is the point of going into your backyard retreat, your staycation, your haven?
And start sanding.
You're looking around thinking of all the maintenance you have to do.
For sure.
You wouldn't go to a resort, and if someone handed you a margarita and said, when you're done drinking your margarita, would you mind painting the cabana?
That's right.
You probably wouldn't go back.
No, and you wouldn't go into your backyard when you know that there's all that work.
Yeah,
you avoid it.
So, with ultra low maintenance decking, all you're doing, like with a product like Trex, and I love this stuff, all you're doing is washing it every now and then like you wash your car. That's going to be great psychologically. You're walking into that backyard space, but the resale value, oh my gosh, what that brings back if you do a wooden deck floor, it actually can now be a detriment to your property value because somebody coming to buy the house is saying,
wear and tear. I have to do it.
I have to
fix it.
maintain this.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful deck, but it's like a swimming pool. I don't want the maintenance, so I'm gonna have to fill this in. It actually could be a detriment to your property value.
Right.
But here's the statistic. A composite deck that is so boring it makes my eyes bleed will give you 90% return on investment.
Huge.
So imagine if it's got some creativity, that's where your property value goes to the roof.
And Paul, you've got to admit, the choices now, I mean, it really has come a long, long
Yes,
way.
it
The
has.
colors, the choices, just the styles, it's incredible.
Yeah, because
thicknesses, width.
I'm pretty sure that in the past, when composite decking colors were chosen, there wasn't a woman around within a 100-mile radius. It was a Friday night, there was a lot of beer, and then it was like, I think salmon's a lovely color for a deck surface, you know? And it wasn't, you know, and the women are going, oh no. So with a product like Trex, I mean, you can tell that there was some involvement from people that weren't colorblind. And so the colors all coincide with each other. They all tie in with brick and siding, and it all flows. You know, it's important.
I think I'm at that point now, just saying. Okay, the last one, here we go. Understanding the elements before we wrap up. What do you mean by that?
Well, when you consider sun, when you consider rain, when you consider all the things that happen outside, those are things that you want to protect the deck from. But what about when you like those things? Like fire. When you have a fire feature in the backyard, what that does, you know, we love sitting around campfires. Imagine if you can have a gas fire on the deck that draws you in. It's something, I look at fire and I immediately go cross-eyed because I'm just transfixed and I feel relaxed. You know, people don't talk to me because I look odd, but that's what happens. Water features.
Oh yeah, I love that.
I mean, most people love the sound of running water,
Absolutely.
very tranquil. There's a small percentage that makes them have to pee incessantly, but you know, a small percentage. You know, having lighting, the lights, you know, having beautiful light ambience at night, lighting, all low voltage lighting system. Yeah, it's having speaker systems built into the outdoors, you know. I mean, that's the musician in me. I want people to walk into their backyard space and go, I am on vacation now, even though they just walked out of the kitchen that looked like it just got hit with a tornado.
So the key, Paul, is to actually walk outside of your dwelling and say, oh, this is where I want to be, because it truly is an extension
Yes.
of your home, as opposed to going, oh, when you look out in your backyard, I have so much work to do. And you actually, instead, you go elsewhere.
Yeah. Right? I want people to walk out the door and feel like they have walked through the wardrobe into Narnia. That's the idea. Isn't that cool?
I love that.
It's like I'm a big kid.
You are a big kid.
You can tell, can't you?
Yeah, but
Does
you
it
know
show?
what? It totally shows. But you have a lot of fun.
I
But
do.
you're empowering other people to make right choices. And
Yes.
this is what it's about. It's about educating,
Yep.
which is key. And I think people need to also realize you have a business, just saying. We're
Yeah.
here right now in your great, I call it a studio, because I think of you as an artist with all your team.
Oh, there's guitars hiding around here as well.
We'll start jamming shortly. But remind everybody about your company before we wrap up.
Well, I mean, PaulLafranceDesign.com. Most people don't think that I can actually help them with their houses, but I'm designing interior spaces, exterior spaces, and custom furniture pieces for people all over North America. And I'm actually, you know, what's really kind of funny is I'm actually bringing decks to the Middle East right now. Can you believe that?
Decks to the Middle East.
I'm going to be opening
Wow.
up a deck design studio in Jordan, and we're going to bring decks to Dubai. People, they don't even have a name for decks in that part of the world, and because it's catching on, it really is kind of spreading around the world. And so, but whether it's a small space or a large space, I'm very passionate about doing this because I know the impact of what I'm doing. I know how it affects people in a very positive way. That's the musician in me. How do you know a good song when you hear one? Because
It moves you.
It's the emotional
You
response.
experience, you feel it.
Yeah.
Well, you move me.
Oh, darling. That's now I'm all shy.
Yeah,
Let's
We'll
walk.
together.
Bye.
Let's go.
See ya.